All right, we're going to draw today because I think today's a great day to draw. Anyway, so you have either gotten your own sketchbook or you have built your own sketchbook. And if you haven't built your own sketchbook, you might want to check out the video that tells you how. And there's a lot of other videos out there that talk about how to build a sketchbook. And that's kind of fun, I think. Anyway, so welcome to this section. We're going to break this up into some mini little units of what you can put inside your sketchbook. So the first lesson that I'm going to give you is about thumbnail sketching. And we're going to start with something really, really simple like a rock. Rocks are cool. Anyway, that said, let's talk a little bit about your sketchbook. You know, your sketchbook is for a lot of things. And really, it's all about you. It's all about what you want to learn. It's all about the skills that you want to build. It's all about the ideas that you want to think about, noodle over. So consider this sketchbook more than just, I'm going to draw something. I'm going to draw something. I'm going to draw something. You want to think of it as a journey, as an investigation, as a way to experiment and to work out problems. All right? So, I'm glad you could join me. Let's get started on rocks. And I'm going to work with thumbnail sketching. Whenever you do a thumbnail, you want to think about it being loose, and it's just an outline of maybe the composition that you're thinking about doing. So it's just the bare basics. It's also about doing more than one. You never want to just draw one idea out and say, okay, I'm going to do it. That's what I'm doing. Because you might be able to capitalize on that idea and make it better if you keep going. So in your sketchbook, make it a good practice to always do at least 3 thumbnail sketches. Well, I know I'm going to be working with rocks, so what I want to do is draw out 3 boxes. And I also want to think about questions, because it's about you investigating. What is it you want to do with this rock? Are you going to draw it to block out values? Are you going to try and draw a really good contour line and see if you can make line speak and say rock? What is it you want to do? So that would be the very first step. Let's write a few questions. And after I have those questions, I'm going to lay out 3 areas. One of my questions is, will this rock look better portrait format or landscape format? Who knows, right? So, I'm going to do 2 landscape formats. And I just kind of block them out loosely. Your style may be to be real neat. You might want to cut out some index cards, the sizes that you want to work with, and draw around them. You could have a really neat little box on your paper. I don't think it's necessary, And then you have your questions. Because I want my sketchbook investigation to be a full-on value study so I can understand better how to create the illusion of form through shading, okay? I need a really, really good light source. So, For your subject matter, you'll want to either get a lamp that you can set, somewhere where it can shine down on the rocks or whatever your subject matter is. Or in my case, I basically put together a flashlight stand. So, and you can see, if I turn this flashlight on, you can see the bright spots of light that hit that rock, and you can see how it accentuates the shadows underneath that rock and will really help you see the values better to get that contrast higher. Well, you can use a, let's say, toilet paper roll holder, or I kind of made one here from just poster board, and you can see I notched it here and notched it here, and when I put that like so, it will cradle that flashlight so that I can move it around where I want and see the values better. So let's make one real quick. This will be shorter, and I'll also show you how the values can change with where you position that flashlight, and that might also be kind of a cool study. I'm just going to basically cut a spot here, and then a shorter little nook, I call it here, like so. Now, let's see how that works. So now that I've got those nooks carved out of this piece, we're going to set this here, and it's about a balancing act because this is kind of a heavy flashlight. So that works pretty good right there, but you can see that having a shorter stand for my flashlight makes my shadows more elongated. Let's get started on our value study, shall we? Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is play around with the position of my rock and how I want to look at it for the best drawing that I could do. What's most interesting. So I'm going to position the rock over and over again, and then I'm going to play around with the light source. Where do I want this flashlight so that it gives me the best shades and the best contrast? I'll block out a small window that I'll use for my value study, and then get this rock just exactly where I want it. Now I always start with something really light, like a light contour line or gesture line that I can then go back over and work my values into. The idea is to create what we call an invisible line. A line that isn't really there. It's kind of an implied line, and you create that with the edge of the shading that you create. Now as I got into this rock, I noticed I had some line, like crevices, and some texture that I had to deal with. So you might want to try playing around a little bit before you really dive in with line quality. So let's look at density, and this is where I'm going to have really light line and then lift up and get lighter line. I try the side of my pencil and then the point of my pencil. Now here is the beginning of a value scale. I'm using the side of the pencil, and you can see I'm layering and lifting up the weight when I want that shading to be a lot lighter. Now for the shading value scale that I want to do with the point of my pencil, if I hold the pencil toward the marking end, I'm going to generally get darker value. If I hold it at the top, I'm going to get much lighter value because I don't have as much control. And if I hold it in the middle, I get kind of mid value, right? You'll also notice that you never really want to bear down. And I know you really can't see it in this video, but if I bear down for my darkest value, it will get shiny. And I don't want it to be shiny. I want it to be the darkest value it can be without being shiny. So you're going to layer, and you just have to keep going over and over and over on it as you're building that dark value. And that's going to give you the best result for your value. Now let's think about texture. There's an area where this rock has some pits. And those pits kind of come off as being texture. So we want to imply some texture. And to do that, I'm going to use a kind of a tap and pull. I'm going to hold my pencil like this, and then I'm going to tap and pull at the same time. It's going to give me some kind of cool texture that I can use for a lot of things, actually. I love this technique. I actually had a student show me this technique. If I shade back over it, it will take out some of the intensity of the texture, and I can also take an eraser into it and play around with the contrast of that texture. You can also control texture with the point of your pencil by kind of just scribbling, and tapping and scribbling at the same time. So now I'm going to dive in and basically just let this fast forward a little bit and show you shading. And I'm also, you're going to notice when I do this that I don't go through and use a shading stump. I want to investigate how I can create this form with just the point of my pencil, or maybe the side of my pencil, without resorting to the shading stump and smearing the value around. All right, here we go. Now that I have finished my value study, I have a better understanding of shading, and every time I do this, my skills increase and get better with time. So my challenge to you is to keep drawing. Try to draw every single day if you can, and build those skills that you need to create wonderful pieces of artwork.